Amy Robach, an anchor over at ABC, was caught on a hot mic saying that ABC executives killed a story that would have exposed the sex offender billionaire Jeffrey Epstein 3 years ago. She had the story, she says. She says executives were acting under pressure in part from the British royal family. The recording was surfaced by the group Project Veritas, and it's remarkable. Here's part of it.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal.
Well, that's clearly real. Elizabeth Wagmeister is a senior correspondent at Variety, and she joins us tonight. Elizabeth, so ABC has issued, poor Amy Robach, who you sort of feel for because this was not for public consumption, but she clearly was sincere. She issued a statement today, clearly under the gun from corporate lawyers, saying, well, we didn't really have the story. Clearly, obviously nonsense. Why wouldn't ABC be more honest than that, I wonder?
You know, you're right, Tucker. ABC, they released a statement where they said the story was not ready for air. It did not meet our broadcast standards. Yeah. And then Amy Robach, she issued a statement that said, while I am disappointed that my interview didn't make it to air, I understand that it wasn't ready for air. She also says that ABC has not stopped her reporting on Epstein. So that's what she's saying. To your point, clearly very different than what we saw in that leaked tape. She is very clearly frustrated there, as you said, very honest. I mean, you know better than anyone, when you are on a TV set, you're always mic'd. You would think that Amy Robach, she may have known, but clearly she was speaking from the heart and speaking out of frustration. And as a journalist, which is actually what she did say in her statement today, she, was upset. She said she felt like she had a story that she did an interview 3 years ago. Now she's watching this story unfold, dominating all the headlines, and she's sitting there saying, I had this story.
If you watch the whole tape, which I have a couple of times, Amy Robach comes off, I think, very well. I mean, she comes off as sincere, as an actual journalist, frustrated and thwarted by executives determined to protect Jeffrey Epstein. CNN today refusing to cover the story, part of the effort to protect Jeffrey Epstein. What is going on here? Why are, NBC is protecting Harvey Weinstein, ABC, and I would say by extension CNN protecting Jeffrey Epstein? Like, why the impulse to protect powerful sex offenders? What is going on?
That's a great question. I do agree with you that Amy Robach actually comes off great here. She comes off as a very serious journalist. She comes off as a woman who wants to help tell women's stories. Now, as she says, of course, Virginia Roberts, she had made allegations of Prince Andrew. So she says that Buckingham Palace was threatening ABC News, and she says that they were worried that they wouldn't be able to have access to interview William and Kate. Now, Amy Robach, of course, she's on 2020. She's on Good Morning America. Something that we have to keep in mind is these are morning shows. These are fluffy, lighthearted shows. They don't want to get their access taken away from the royals, who are a very light, fun story.
Really? Because wait, hold on. Wait, I get. Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're craven and dishonest, if that's what you mean. I've seen it firsthand. But I mean, when Judge Kavanaugh was up for a Supreme Court seat, I don't remember GMA, one of whose anchors was a friend of Harvey Weinstein, of Jeffrey Epstein's. I don't remember them pulling back on those allegations of sexual assault at all.
That's why this story is getting coverage. Again, to go back to ABC's statement, they say our story was not ready for air, which, by the way, you brought up NBC. That sounds very familiar, right? NBC said with Ronan Farrow's Harvey Weinstein reporting, that story was not ready for broadcast either. Yeah. So there is a similar parallel there for sure.
The whole thing is no wonder people are paranoid about the media. They have every reason to be. Elizabeth, thanks so much for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tucker.
Well, that Robach tape, which you should watch yourself, it's on the Project Veritas website, and it's good. But in that tape, she discussed more than ABC's role in spiking the story. She also expressed her thoughts about how Jeffrey Epstein died. Watch this.
So, do I think he was killed? 100%. Yes, I do. Because he made his whole living blackmailing people. There were a lot of men in those planes, a lot of men who visited that island, a lot of powerful men who came into that apartment. And they made it seem as though he made that suicide attempt 2 weeks earlier, but his lawyers claimed that he was roughed up by his cellmate around the neck. That was all like to plant the seed. And then that's why I really believe it, like really believe it.
The Federalist Molly Hemingway joins us tonight. What do you make of this, Molly?
Well, I just thought that video was so interesting, and it was confirmed that it was real by the reporter and ABC putting out this statement. But what was so stunning was not that they went with this explanation that they didn't run these stories because they didn't have evidence. That would seem reasonable, that you really want to make sure you have that story nailed down. It's that we have seen so many examples over and over again where if you don't share the political viewpoint or the close celebrity friendships of these media people, they will destroy your life with no corroborating evidence. It is worth remembering that it was just a year ago with the Brett Kavanaugh situation that wild allegations were coming forth, things that had no supporting evidence, that Brett Kavanaugh was the leader of a serial gang rape cartel. Those things came to be broadcast on that network, even though there was no corroboration for them and a lot of reasons to doubt the veracity of those stories. So we're seeing this inconsistency that is indefensible. You look at what happened with the Covington boys, where people went crazy with trying to destroy these boys' life, even though the actual story was precisely the opposite of the one that the media presented. And you had them just doing really tough hits on these children when they had no actual supporting evidence.
This is such an amazing story. Everything about the Jeffrey Epstein story is remarkable and intersects with some of the most famous people of our time, very much including Bill Clinton. And these networks, CNN notably today, Jeff Zucker's little personal toady, his grinning minion, was not saying one word about this story all day. It does seem like there's a concerted effort to cover up for this guy. Why is that?
I was struck even by what the reporter was saying, that she worked on this story for 3 years. She tried to bring it to air for 3 years, and now it was coming out. 3 years ago was 2016. We did not see reticence from our media about running stories about Donald Trump that were based on, that made him look bad. And yet you saw this profound reticence for any story that might negatively affect Hillary Clinton. She specifically mentions Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, other high-profile people. It pays to have friends in high places, I suppose, but this is such a great example of why people have come to just profoundly distrust their media. They know the game is rigged. They know that things are not, that the media get to decide what gets high play and what doesn't, and that who gets destroyed and who doesn't. And seeing that power that the media have and seeing how corruptly they wield that power is really eye-opening for a lot of Americans.
What's unbelievable that CNN would devote a better part of a year to destroying, for example, Roger Stone's life, staking out his house as the FBI comes and roughs up his 72-year-old wife, because he was friends with Donald Trump, and that's not allowed in our country. And then to cover up for Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, it really does make you think that, like, maybe the system's too rotten to continue. Seriously.
Right. Well, and I don't personally doubt that he killed himself, but you can see why people do doubt it when so many powerful people who would like to have seen him dead are part of this story, and and just. It's a very...
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Jeffrey Epstein personally, but I do think it's worth pushing a little bit, and aren't journalists supposed to be the ones who push a little bit, but they're not.
Right, but this reporter did show a good... She showed, and it also is a good reminder that a reporter can be good, but if the higher-ups are quashing it, and that happens on so many stories.
It's totally true, and I'm sure, by the way, Amy Robach is upset that this tape has come out, because you would be upset if a tape that was shot without your knowledge came out. But I hope that she takes solace in the fact that she comes out as one of the good people in this, I think.
Yep.
Great to see you, Molly.
Great seeing you.